Okay, so like I said, thank you guys for coming. This is a 45-minute deep stretch class. It's going to be a deep stretch on the wall. I've got a special guest here today, my 6-foot partner. Her name is Kitty. Her and I are good friends, and when we were able to do yoga in the studios together, we did it quite often. So we thought we'd practice a little bit today. We're going to take our short edge side of the mat all the way up to the wall. And we're going to start out in a child's pose position with our feet connected to the wall. So you can kind of walk yourself all the way back, come into tabletop, and then draw your knees as wide as you like. Bring your toe pads together to touch, and then sink your hips back towards your heels and letting your spine lengthen out there. So just connecting into the surface points of our body, the contact points of our body and the earth. Let your spine get really, really long here. Let your forehead rest softly and allow your elbows to hang heavy on the mat. And take your time letting your belly open up. Let it hang softly in between the thighs. Feel that gentle hip opener. And then right away, let's take a deep breath in through the nose together. Fill up through your nose. Breathe into your belly, out into your ribs and chest. And as you exhale, open up your mouth and sigh out the air like you're fogging up a mirror with your breath. Let's take another cleansing breath in like that. Breathe in through your nose. Build breath into your belly, your ribs. And as you exhale, open up your mouth and send it away. One more time. Breathing in, fill all the way up and expand in all directions. Feel your back body lift to the sky. As you exhale, open the mouth and empty completely. Feel your belly button draw in and up towards your heart. Now seal your lips. Allow the breath to travel in through the nose. All the way down, all the way up. And as you exhale, back out through your nose. Start to find an audible inhale and exhale here. So restricting a little through the back of your throat. Let the air streamline in and streamline out the nostrils. This is our Ujjayi Pranayama, victorious breath. And we'll continue to use this breath throughout our practice today, helping us to calm the mind and bring our focus more inwards. So as you breathe into your body, start to notice the spaces of your body that are moving with the breath. You might notice right away the chest and the lungs, the shoulders, the ribs. But start to notice in particular where the breath isn't quite reaching, and then see if you can balloon those areas, particularly behind your kidneys. See if you can get really full through your back body. Stretch your belly to the floor. And then exhale, send it all away, pulling the belly in and up. An active exhale as you press all that stale air out. And as you start to find that quietness through your mind, bringing our focus a little more inwards, let's start to explore our internal landscape. Just noticing physically in our bodies how we're feeling this evening. Mentally, emotionally, how are we showing up on our mats? This week, my focus for theme of our classes has been around reflection. We've had some time to kind of figure out where we want to go and how we want to be moving forward. We know what we don't want to create. And now is a time to kind of sit back and reflect on everything that we've learned about ourselves, so that when we move forward, we're moving forward in an authentic way. We've had the opportunity to have this extra time at home, and we know that our thoughts, our ideas, those opportunities to come have all been created on our own. They're authentically ours as we've taken some time away from outside influences. So let this be your focus today. Reflect on your practice. Reflect on the journey of yoga and what it's meant to you. Notice how maybe different postures today seemed really hard when you first started, and now maybe they feel more of a resting posture. Begin to reflect on where you've come from so that you know how you want to be as you move forward. With that in mind, go ahead and stretch your palms to the top of your mat, reaching your fingertips, lifting your elbows off the earth. And go ahead and walk your hands in towards your knees here, coming up into a tabletop position. So we'll slide those knees back under the hips, about hip-width distance apart, and we'll begin with some spinal movement, finding flexion and extension. So spread the palms really wide. Inhale, hammock the belly down, take the gaze forward or up, cow pose. As you exhale, round through your spine, press away from the earth and look back at your thighs. A few more on your own. Let your heart strings draw forward, lift the tailbone and the crown. Exhale, coil tailbone and crown towards the earth, look back. Then finding flexion and finding extension. Using the full length of your inhale to open up the front body. The full length of your exhale to round and coil. Good. Take an inhale. Let's open up the heart, reach the crown of the head forward and up. And now as you exhale, round through your spine, press all the way until you feel your upper back and whole spine dome. And now send your hips all the way back to your heels. Your elbows kind of soften on their own. Keep your hands as they are, because we're going to flow that cat-cow and that whole movement there. So from here, look forward and kind of snake the spine forward. Lift all the way up into your cow. Belly hangs. And now exhale, round into cat and send your hips all the way back to your heels. Let your elbows soften. One more time. Inhale, slither forward, open the chest, come all the way up into cow. And now exhale, round the spine, dome, and then send the hips all the way back. Resting your elbows one more time. Let your forehead relax on the earth. Take an inhale into your back body. And exhale, let it go. Walk your hands in towards your knees. And then go ahead and sit back to your wall here. If this is too much on your knees, grab a block and slide it underneath of your sits bones, or a pillow if you don't have a block at home. You could also bring your legs out in front if you prefer. In fact, I'm going to do that myself and bring my legs into a cross-legged position. So you could come into Siddha Virasana like kitty, or a sweet seat with your legs out in front of one another. Slide your back body close and make sure that your shoulder blades are connected to the wall here. With an inhale, stretch your arms up to the sky. And now keep your arms, your shoulders glued to the wall. As you exhale, I'll mirror you. So you're going to take your left hand down, kitty. Bring your right palm down to the mat and lift your left arm up and then stretch over towards the side body. If your top shoulder comes off of the wall, you've come too far. So back out, lift up again, and then take that side bend until you feel a stretch through your whole left side. You could also gaze up to the left here. Take an inhale and exhale. And then take your left hand, bring it around your right ear here, and take your right ear over to your right shoulder. I'm sorry, your left ear to your left shoulder. So you'll stay the way that you are. Yeah, there you go. And get a nice big stretch through the neck. Nice gentle pull there. And then releasing both hands down, lift the crown of the head to the sky. With an inhale, stretch your arms up. And again, I'll mirror you, so bring your left hand down to the mat. Stretch your right arm up, and then side bend over to your left, or do the opposite side. Try to draw that shoulder blade back. And again, if you need to come out of the posture, just lift back up, find that length and alignment. Keeping shoulders over hips, take that side bend. And now bring your top arm, grab your opposite ear, or the side of your face rather, and then pull your right ear down to your right shoulder to get a nice big stretch through the side of the neck here. And then go ahead and release your head, bring both hands down by your sides, crown of the head lifts up. Shift forward, come into a tabletop position. Tuck your toes behind you, sit back onto your heels, and we're gonna work our way up to stand. So press down and then go ahead and come on forward. Kitty and I are gonna start, we're all gonna turn to make sure that our left side is facing the wall. So I'm not sure which way that'll mean for you guys, but make sure your left side is closest to the wall. And then step away from the wall, maybe about 2 feet print away. So yeah, go a little bit further. Feet about hip width distance apart. And you can always adjust if you need to once we get into the posture. We're gonna start by bringing our left hand to the wall. And now cross your right ankle over your left ankle. Stretch your right arm up to the sky and take a side bend to the wall. Press your right hip to the middle of your room. So your right fingers can come to touch the wall overhead, but make sure you're not crunching through your low back. Again, if you need to come out, the fingers don't have to touch the wall. You just want to feel that big lateral opening all the way from our right Achilles up through our right pinky finger. Take an inhale. And now exhale, breathe into that lateral opening. Reach your arms back up to the sky. Go ahead and uncross, bring the right hand down by your hip. And let's take that to the other side. So we'll just turn to face the other way, Bailey. And then bring that right hand to the wall. So again, feet are about hip width distance. This time your left ankle crosses over your right. I'm gonna walk a little bit further away. Stretch your left arm up to the sky, reach it overhead, and then take it all the way to the wall. Big side body stretch, opening up space around the ribs or in between the ribs, helping to strengthen those intercostal muscles that help us to breathe. Press through both feet equally here. You do want to squeeze your thighs and your glutes together so you're not arching through your low back, but you're keeping that integrity through the spine and integrity through the core. Pressing away gently with your right palm here. And then go ahead and release, come back up through center, bring the left hand down by your hip, uncross the feet here. We're gonna turn to face the wall. I'm gonna stay facing towards you just so you can see me for a moment. We're gonna find downward facing dog on the wall. So one way that we do that, because we're all different lengths and sizes, is to come straight up to the wall, pretty close to the wall, and then bring your fingertips so that your elbows are in line with your hip points. So you kind of want your wrists to stay in line with your hip points, okay? And then once you've got your hands on the wall there, now start to walk back. Hinge at your hips. You coming in, Bailey? Hinge at your hips and then flatten your palms to the wall so that the heels of your palms are on the wall. Walk your feet in a little bit so that your heels are under your hips. So down dog on the wall, this is a little bit less pressure in the shoulders and in the knees. You want your heels to be right underneath of your hips. So if you walk back a little bit further, just walk it in a little bit and then soften those knees, a little micro bend. Press your palms into the wall, but let your heart melt towards the floor. Head is doing the same here. This gives us a nice release through the shoulders and even the pectoral muscles. Hi, buddy. Pop, pop, pop. So if down dog on the mat ever feels too much on the shoulders, this is a really nice alternative. And then again, you can kind of feel into if you have a tendency to hyperextend through your legs or your hamstrings, adding that soft bend and even pulling the belly in and up, lengthen that tailbone back behind you. Now to release, go ahead and walk your feet in and walk back up to the wall until you're able to lift up. We'll turn away from the wall now and face back towards the center of the room. And then we're going to come back down onto our knees. So we're going to come into tabletop position. We're going to start with our right foot, so your left foot. We're going to mirror them. Bring your right sole of your foot all the way up to the wall. So your toes are tucked under, but the sole of your foot's all the way down at the trim. So you can slide it all the way until your toes hit the carpet. Yep, there you go. All right, so bring your hands under your shoulders, or you could bring blocks underneath or come onto fingertips for more height. Step now your left foot forward in between your hands. So your right foot, yep. Your left knee is down. Left knee is down, yeah. So you're just beginning by stretching out through the left hip flexor, your right hip flexor, I'm sorry, and then we're gonna find a low lunge here. So keeping the sole of the foot on the wall, reach your arms up, and then interlace your hands behind your head. Reach your elbows out to the east and west sides of the room. Keep pressing that right foot into the wall behind you. Scissor hug your left hip back to the wall. Keep reaching your elbows out. Tuck your tailbone down slightly. Imagine your pelvic bowl here is just like a bowl of soup. So instead of tilting it forward, don't let your soup fall out. Tuck your tailbone down and pull your belly in, and then that way you'll feel a nice big pull through this left hip flexor here. And take another breath in. And now as you exhale, bring your right hand to your left knee. Bring your left hand behind you to grab a hold of the wall. So you might just place the fingertips there to help you out with the twist. If that's too intense of a twist, just bring that back hand to your back pocket instead. And then gazing out over here to the left. Keep your belly drawing in as you inhale, lengthen through the crown. As you exhale, twist a little deeper. And keep pressing that left sole of your foot into the wall, working that left quad and hip flexor here. And one more inhale. And as you exhale, come out of the twist. Bring your hands back down to the mat. So this next part is a little tricky. We are going to lift the back foot and then bring the top of the foot, so the shoelace side of your foot, onto the wall. So untuck, there you go. And now we need to walk our knee back as much as we can. We're going to try to get our right knee all the way to the trim. So if you can't get it all the way there, don't worry about it. It's not a make or break of this posture, but if you have the extra space to walk it back, and you have to kind of heel toe that left foot back. Once you feel like you've got the knee as far back as you can go, you might be feeling enough of a quad stretch here. Good place to grab blocks. If you have them, will give you a little extra height. Otherwise, you could bring your hands to your left knee and press up. So this is a really intense quad stretch. Yeah, so if it feels better to stay low, stay low. One day when our quads want to start to really open for us, we might be able to bring our head and our shoulders all the way back to the wall. I'm not there just yet. But if I worked on this maybe for a couple of breaths, had a little bit longer, we're going to stay here for as long as we can, as long as we can maintain. And anytime you need to come out of it, just lower down and move that right knee away from the trim. But try to sit up as tall as you can. Usually I would take 2 sets of blocks underneath of my shoulders here to give me a little bit more height, but otherwise we've got that knee in front of us. Now go ahead and release, walk your blocks forward if you had a hold of them here. We're going to come into a child's pose. So take a moment to release your back knee, and then go ahead and bring your left knee down as well. Walk your knees wide. Toe pads will come together to touch, and your feet are again connected to the wall behind you. Arms stretch out to the top of your mat. Resting your forehead somewhere. Take an inhale, and exhale, release. Aww, you're so cute. All right. On your next inhale, go ahead and take your gaze forward. We're going to keep our forearms on the mat, and now we're going to slither on through. Are you trying to kiss me? I need to get up here. Slither on through into Sphinx pose. See, you must be jealous because we're doing a cat pose or something. All right, Bailey. Bring your elbows underneath of your shoulders. And you can press your feet into the wall behind you and stay here. Or you can bend your knees, and it's kind of a reverse army crawl, knees back to the trim. And this isn't a requirement. You can keep your feet on the wall as well, but I kind of like this variation as it helps us to lift up out of the low belly a little more. If you feel crunchy in your low back, pull your belly button away from the floor and make sure you're engaging there. Sphinx pose, it might feel like a back bend, but it's actually quite a bit of core work and a lot of shoulder work as well. So elbows in line with wrists. Make sure that you're trying to draw your heartstrings forward, shoulder blades squeeze together onto the back. Option to drop your chin to your chest. one ear to your shoulder, or right ear to right shoulder, and then left ear to left shoulder. You could take some circles with the neck if you like, all the way up and all the way down. Make sure you go in both directions if you're circling. All right, go ahead and walk your elbows out. Stack your palms on top of one another and pause here, forehead on top of the palms for crocodile pose. If you want, you could window wipe your legs or your knees side to side here, your shins, and just a nice release through the low back. Do you have a watch on you or a phone near you? I might have to have you give 25 update. It is, okay. And then bringing the hands underneath of the shoulders. Press back up as well as you can into tabletop. So if you get kind of stuck, you may need to come down and roll off to the side, squeeze in, and then let's make our way back to table. Now coming into the left side, we're going to move back into that low lunge variation. So first we'll start with bringing the left sole of your foot all the way up to the trim, which will be your right foot. Your right knee stays on the mat. Come onto finger pads or bring blocks underneath of your palms to give yourself elevation. You can lift them to whatever level you need. Step now your right foot forward in between your hands. Press your left foot into the wall there, and then lift up, chest and heart. Reach your arms up and interlace your hands at the base of your skull or behind your head. Reach your elbows out. And then see if you need to kind of adjust. You want your right ankle to be underneath of your right knee. So if you need to bring your hands down and walk back a little bit, make sure you're getting a nice big stretch through the left hip flexor. You want to let your body kind of shift forward if you're not feeling as much, but stay strong through the hip. So right hip, scissor hugs back to the wall behind you. And now moving into our twist, bring your left hand to your right knee. Bring your right palm either to your back pocket and look over to the right, or take your right palm and bring it to the wall behind you, and you can gaze back at those fingers. And you can use that palm as a lever to help you twist a little deeper. Use an inhale to balloon your belly, breathe in, lift up through your crown. Exhale, pull your belly button in, twist deeper. Let's take 2 more like that. Breathe in and out. And last one. All right, go ahead and twist back around through center. Hands come back to the blocks. And here's where we get a little bit more intense with the quad stretch on the left now. So lift your left toes, set the top of your foot on the wall. And now here you want to walk the right foot back because you know you're going to be walking the left knee back, and then we just kind of inch back and back and back. We've got really sticky mats here, so it's hard to move it's hard to move with your leggings there. Better if you have a slipperier surface. And then blocks will walk under the shoulders to help you lift, or if you don't have blocks, hands will come up to your knee. But again, if that's too intense, just breathe here for a couple of breaths. You don't have to move right into that opening. And then once you've got a couple of breaths there, maybe you've got some more room to move as you lift up. This is pretty intense, yeah, so if you've got blocks, you could walk them underneath of your shoulders and sit up nice and tall. If you've got the space available, you could take your shoulders all the way to the back wall, and then the head will press back as well. Big, big opening through this left quad and left hip flexor. Let's take 2 more breaths. And then hands back to the blocks or your support. Slide the hands underneath, yep, and then we're going to kind of release, come into table. If it's easier, you could turn that back shin over to the side there, yep, and then bring your left knee down. Walk the knees wide, big toe pads together to touch. Bring your feet to the trim or to the wall, and then sit your hips back. We'll rest here Inhale through your nose, breathe into your heart, your back body, and kidneys. Exhale, open up the mouth to let it go. And gazing forward, slither on through onto your belly. We'll have to lengthen all the way out, but if you want to bend into your knees and army crawl backwards, you can bring your knees to the trim, or you can just lengthen the soles of your feet to the trim there. Coming back into Sphinx, bring your elbows underneath of your shoulders. Press away from the floor, so pressing into those forearms. At the same time, even though the forearms stay stationary, you want to drag your elbows back behind you. And now from here, option to stay, or if you want a little bit more depth this time, walk your palms out a little bit wider on your mat. And if you've got it, you can lift your elbows off the earth for seal pose. If that's too crunchy in the low back, just come right back down onto the elbows. And let your chin be soft, back of the neck is nice and long here. Belly button draws in and away from the floor to help you protect the low back muscles. Let's take 2 more breaths. And last one, inhale. And exhale, lower those elbows. Bring your palms to stack on top of one another, your forehead to stack on your palms. And breathe into your lower back here. Again, option to window wiper your legs side to side for a release. And just staying here for as many rounds of breath as we need until that warm sensation in the low back goes away. Back bends are very energizing, very heating, so you might be feeling the subtle effects of that. And then go ahead and bring your hands under your shoulders. You can either roll to one side, or if you have the space to press into table, we'll come into table together. However is easy to get there. And then now we're going to face towards the wall for our last few final stretches. And these are the ones that I love to do at home because we really don't have to do anything ourselves. The wall kind of does it for us, and gravity does the work. So to begin, how we get our bums or our tailbone as close to the wall as we can is we come to the wall sideways. And we might have to kind of coordinate here. When we come to the wall sideways, it doesn't matter which side, hip next to the wall, you're going to lay back onto your back and then lift your legs up, turning then bum to the wall. And we're going to start just with let your legs kind of be up the wall here, legs up the wall, letting some of that lactic acid drain from the legs. And then start to bend your knees, bring the soles of your feet together for butterfly on the wall. So the further your heels drop towards your inner groins, the more inner groin stretch you're going to find. The further your heels are away, the more the back of the leg and thigh and hamstring you're going to find, or IT band. You could take your palms and press your knees towards the wall, or you could just relax your arms down by your sides. Soften your gaze or close your eyes completely. And feel the length through your spine. One thing I love about wall deep stretch or wall yin yoga is a lot of times in these forward folds, we get the stretch in the hips, but we take the alignment out of the spine. We typically are rounding in the spine here when we come into a butterfly forward fold. So with the back on the floor, we've got the stability, the support underneath of us, and we have the opportunity to be safe in the posture while also benefiting from the hip stretch. And let's take the next couple of breaths here. When you're ready, go ahead and extend your legs back up. We'll meet in legs up the wall before we transition to the next posture. You can roll out your ankles, point your feet, or flex. Oh, what's it?
34.
35, thank you. Now for a wide-legged straddle on the wall, one of my favorite postures. Just like it sounds, we're gonna let those legs open up. And then they'll just kind of fall as the body allows. So it just kind of depends on the opening in the inner groins and what the legs are gonna allow here for you. Again, you could bring your hands and press the thighs closer to the wall. I like to just rest the hands on the hips or on the belly or heart here. Just somewhere where you can stay relaxed through your shoulders. Wide-legged gravity pull. So just like it sounds, let gravity do the work. You might notice after a few rounds of breath, you've got a little bit more space where the legs can travel closer to the floor. You got enough room?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's smart. I thought that was you. Go ahead and lift your legs back up to the sky. We'll meet back in legs up the wall. In the next posture, we're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee and then press the right knee forward. You can do that muscularly or you can press the hand there. And then start to bend at your left knee. Now, bringing the sole of the foot to the wall, be mindful. This might be really tight for you to get into this external rotation in the hip. So you control the stretch here. The more you bring your left foot down, the deeper the stretch is going to be. Make sure that your right foot is flexed, so toes are pulling back towards the kneecap. You want to invite your right shin and ankle closer to your chest. Your right knee should be moving away, but we want to make sure that our hips stay square and level as well. So if it feels like one hip is hiked up higher than the other, make sure that you're pressing both hips evenly towards the wall. Already we've got this nice long line of energy through the tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head. Again, another posture where we are typically rounding forward to get into that opening. But here we can just relax and let the wall do the work. This is a great alternative to half pigeon. Getting that opening through the hip. Let's take your next 2 breath cycles here. And legs up the wall when you're ready. Gently release left leg and then right leg. And maybe a little shake out. We'll take that one right to the other side. Left ankle crosses over the right. And again, you can stay here for a couple of breaths, and when you're ready, begin to bend into that right knee. One side might be your tighter side. I know this one is for me. So take your time moving into it. Probably about 5 to 8 breaths to really get into the posture. And typically when we're on our back, we're pulling underneath of the thigh, we're bringing this right knee in closer. We can do that just with using the work of the wall here, sliding that right foot down, so there's no need for us to round through the shoulders or cause any additional stress for the neck and the back of the head there. Make sure that your foot stays engaged, left toes pull back towards the knee. It helps us to protect the knee and the hip joints. And just find your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Enjoy your next 2 breath cycles here. After that second exhale, lengthen that right leg, and then the left leg, legs up the wall. Shake it out a little bit. This time we're going to bend into both knees. Arms out to a goalpost or a tee. How am I looking at
40.
Thank you. And then walk your feet over to the right for a supine twist. So you can let your knees fall all the way, but do press the soles of your feet into the wall. And then option to just gaze up at the sky or gaze over to the left. And again, if the knees are kind of hovering and you want support, a block could come underneath. Or my favorite is to actually bring a block in between the knees there. Breathe in and breathe out. And kind of tiptoe your feet back up. Bring those knees back over your hips. If you have a block, you can set it to the side. In between sides, we're going to walk our feet out. And this could be considered happy baby or malasana on the wall. You could bring your inner elbows to your inner knees and press your knees out. One of my favorites. Or if your arms are long enough, you might be able to just take hands to prayer here, elbows to the inner knees. If that causes you to have to lift your head or round your shoulders, just let your arms be long. A big opening through the inner groins and thighs. Big inhale. And exhale. And now bring the hands to the outside of your knees. Gather your feet back together. And we'll finish with that supine twist on the other side. So goalpost the arms or tee. And then walk your feet all the way over to the left. You can let your knees again fall all the way down. But just make sure you've got that groundedness underneath of the soles of the feet. Press the feet into the wall. So that way you're twisting truly from the low back. Gaze up to the sky or gaze to the right fingers. Adding support as needed with the block. Another breath in. And another breath out. And then when you're ready, gaze back up, walk your feet back in. Good. You can give, or block over to the side. If you had a hold of it there, you can give your knees a squeeze into the chest. If you want a little bit more wall, we could end with legs up the wall for final resting pose, lifting those guys back up. If there was something that you liked on the wall that you want to come back to for the next 4 or so minutes, you can choose to find the way that you'd like to finalize your practice. If regular Shavasana, meaning lengthening out on your back on your mat here, is better suited for you today, go ahead and find a space where you can remain still. And then once you get there, let your palms be open towards the sky. Let your gaze completely close or soften it. Let your breath be free and let your limbs be heavy. Feel the heaviness of your femur bones as they land into your hip sockets. Even though we do have a little bit of energy in our muscles to keep the legs lifted, try to relax here as much as you can. Deep peace to all of you. are more than welcome to stay here in this space. If you have some extra time at home, I encourage you to do so. If you're ready to reawaken, just start by wiggling your fingers and your toes. Maybe roll the ankles, roll the wrists. But from here we can bend into the knees and just simply roll over onto our right side. Pause there, resting your head on your arm or your bicep. And just take some time to thank yourselves for showing up. And deep stretch is a wonderful way to end the day. It's also a nice way to begin our days, but a lightness in the stretching and just thanking the practice for all that it has to offer us. When you're ready, press up with as little effort as you can. And we'll make our way back to an easy seat. So that could be sweet seat with legs crossed or on a block on your shins. If you want, you can guide your back to your wall support behind you there. And then once you arrive, close your eyes, bring your hands together at your heart, press your palms towards one another, and come back to your nose breath. In through the nose and out through the nose. Bow your head towards your prayer hands and take a moment to reflect on your practice. Notice how you feel physically in your body now. Energetically, emotionally, what's changed and what's stayed the same. I invite you to really reflect on where you are in space, especially as we move into the summer months. And this is so important that we're showing up as authentically as we can. Now's the time to really draw our focus inwards and look to ourselves for answers. Thank you so much for sharing your breath and energy with me today. I hope you find a piece of that you can weave into the rest of your day. May peace, may love, may light be felt within each and every one of you. Bless you and everyone you meet. Namaste. All right, thank you so much, yogis, for sharing your practice with myself and my partner here, Kitty, and Bailey, the star of the show tonight.
Snoring. Snoring.
Good. Let me pause this.